Hello YouTube, Unknown Prepper here. Today with probably one of the most iconic submachine guns of all time in my opinion. Today we have the Kriss Vector. This firearm is from my personal collection, and it's kind of the party piece of my collection, if you will. Today I just wanted to go over some of the pros and cons of the Kriss Vector and some things you could consider if you were looking to get one for your own. So first of all, let's just start with an overview of the firearm. This is the long barrel version, so it has a 16-inch barrel to make it compliant with the United States law. It is also a pinned stock version. The stock does not slide in and out, which is very unfortunate because this weapon started out as a submachine gun, which part of the benefit of it was that it's compact and still, packs a punch. So like I said, unfortunately, this is the 16-inch barrel version, but a lot of people are probably going to end up purchasing this version as it is more popular just because it follows a lot of the guidelines and you don't have to make it an SBR due to the laws that are in place. So first of all, this is the 9mm version. This is going to use the Glock 19 magazines. Here's one. Just for reference, it chambers right up in here, as you can see. Overall, this rifle is interesting. It's very different from the AR platform. It's something that takes a while to get used to. The charging handle is all the way up in the front, unlike an AR where it's in the rear. It does come with 2 iron sights standard that you can move wherever you would like. I've put a little hollow sun red dot on it, which I'm still trying to figure out if I like or not. It does have ambidextrous safety controls on the left and on the right, as you can see here, but the ejection port is on the right-hand side, so this weapon is designed for a right-handed shooter. As far as a basic overview, you can see it does come with a rail on the bottom and on the top where your iron sights are mounted, but it also has room to mount little rails on the side if you wanted to mount a flashlight or something like that. I don't use this as a home defense weapon, so I don't have any type of flashlight on it, anything crazy, but you could add that if you wanted. And also, this is not a suppressor. This is a barrel cover that comes standard on the 16-inch model, and you can see it has the Kriss Vector logo on it as well. So that's basically it for an overview. Now let's get into the pros and cons of owning a Kriss Vector. So first, let's get the cons out of the way, just because I think there's a lot of pros to this weapon. So we'll just get the cons out of the way first. So the very first thing that I think is a definite con of this firearm has got to be the price. This one I spent $1,800 on, and the reason that I'm saying that's a con is just because it's a lot for what you're getting. And I know that there's a lot of firearms out there that are way more expensive than $1,800, that's kind of a drop in the bucket to, spend on a really good firearm. But I just think there's a lot of other weapons out there that you can get for a cheaper price that I don't know if they're necessarily better, but I think they may be a little bit more value for your money. So number one definitely has to be the price. I could see these selling in the $1,200 range all day long, and I think it would be a phenomenal deal. But for $1,800, especially with the longer barrel version where it's not as compact, it's just a kind of a bulky weapon. I think $1,800 is just a little bit expensive for what you're getting. Now, number two is kind of a pro and a con, and I know that doesn't really make sense, but I'm going to explain. So it uses the Glock 19 mags. This is the 9mm version, which are fantastic mags. I love them. And you can get them pretty much anywhere. Now, the con to it is that these Glock magazines function flawlessly in it, but these magazines, which are the P-mags, they seem like they're going to fit, and, they're the exact same size. They're designed to work in the Glock, but there's somewhere on the mag, I don't know if it's the catch, it looks like they're going to fit, but then when you actually load the magazine in, you think, yeah, I got it, but they just pull right back out. They never actually lock into place. And the thing with the Glock magazines is they're great and they're everywhere, but they are a little bit expensive, especially for if you're in my situation where this is only a 10-round magazine. and sometimes these sell for 25 bucks a piece. And again, they're great magazines. I think they're totally worth the money. The problem is that, you know, in order to buy a bunch of them, it becomes extremely expensive. So you spend a lot of money on the rifle itself, and then you have to spend a ton of money on the magazines. And as far as I can tell, they don't work in the rifle. These are about half the price of the regular Glock magazines. So unfortunately, you know, that was just a loss that I had to take. Now, number 3. This is a very, very unique weapon. And with that, it has a strange ergonomic design to it. It's nothing like an AR or an AK or a full-size rifle that seems to just kind of fit in your hands nice. The Kriss it's an awkward design, and it definitely takes some getting used to. The bolt release is in an odd spot, and it's actually extremely difficult to push. It snaps forward pretty quickly, but you have to put a lot of pressure to get that bolt to come forward. And then also the charging handle is just kind of in a bizarre place. And when you go to rack it, you feel like you have to pull it back real far, and it ends up stopping right about here. So the ergonomics, once you get used to them, are great, but I think they're kind of awkward in the beginning. So for a newer shooter, I definitely wouldn't recommend the Kriss or the Vector. I just think it's kind of an awkward weapon to start out with. But overall, once you get used to it, it is pretty sweet to shoot. Now, the last thing, and this goes specifically for this long barrel version, and with the stock pin, is this thing is super long. I have my AR here to kind of show size reference, so I'm lining up the back of the buttstock, and you can see down at the very end, the Vector in this configuration with the stock all the way back is actually almost an inch longer than a full-size AR with a 16-inch barrel and the stock all the way back on that as well. And, you know, for some people that may not be an issue, but to me, if you're looking at what the spirit of this weapon was, it's supposed to be a short barrel, you know, fully automatic submachine gun that's supposed to be real small. You can pull it out. It has super low recoil, and it's supposed to be, you know, just a very tight, small weapon that you can move around without any issues of bumping into things. In this configuration, it's super long. I mean, it's longer than a full-size rifle. And again, I didn't buy this rifle. I didn't buy this to clear rooms or use it for home defense. I bought it because I love the design of it. I think it's a really cool weapon, and it's, like I said, it's kind of a party piece. But that is something to consider, that if you are buying it with a pin stock and the full-size barrel, it is a very long weapon, much longer than you would think. And I would recommend you hold one at a gun shop and shoot one before you purchase it, just so you can make a more informed decision on that. So let's move on to the pros of the weapon. So with number 1, this weapon is awesome. And I know that's not really a pro, but what I mean is it's a weapon that you don't see very often. It's rare. I've been shooting for probably about 10 years now. I have never seen another one at a range. Every time that I bring mine, people are always fascinated as to what it is. They ask a bunch of questions. They want to know where I got it. So overall, it's a really cool firearm. I think it's one that, you know, even if you don't own, you should definitely shoot it and see what it's about. It's a very cool piece, and like I said, the ergonomics are very weird at first, but once you get used to it, it's actually a fun rifle to shoot. It has a pretty good trigger, and overall, I think it's just a very cool design. Number 2, like I said, this was a pro and a con, but these magazines, the Glock magazines. Now, the benefit of the Glock magazine, of it using the Glock magazine, is that they're everywhere. The Glock is probably one of the most popular firearms on the planet as far as a pistol goes. So you can get these magazines almost anywhere, and you know, they're just easy to find. Now, Kriss also does make their own magazines that you can put in the Vector that are extended. You could shoot up to, I believe, a 30-round mag if it's 9mm, which they're pretty cool as well, but the using them with the Glock mags is pretty standard across the board. And I believe you can get these 9mm ones up to 15 or 17 rounds or something. So you can actually fit a good amount of rounds inside the firearm itself, and the magazine fits all the way up into the chamber, and you don't have a magazine hanging down, which is interesting as well, because typically, like an AK or an AR, the magazine hangs below the chamber as well, or the mag well. So that would be number 2. Number 3 is definitely just, like I said, it's overall it's an interesting rifle for the fact that it comes with the vectoring system, which made this rifle so popular. And I say rifle because it's got the full 16-inch barrel and everything. But one of the ways that it differs from an AR or an AK or basically pretty much any other firearm is typically on a regular firearm, after the round is fired, a lot of the recoil will come straight back and end up going into the shooter's shoulder, and that will cause the rifle to rise as it shoots. Now, the Vector is very unique in the fact that when the bolt comes back, it comes back and then heads down. It rides a rail here and then heads down this chamber here. Now, the benefit to that is that the rifle doesn't rise a lot when you're shooting it quickly. Now, when you have a semi-automatic version like this, where you're only going to be firing, a couple rounds a minute, it's not as effective. But overall, it's a really cool feature, and it's something that Vector worked on for years, and it makes this rifle very, very unique. And it does have low recoil overall, especially with this being a 9mm version. It's very easy to keep your rounds on target, and overall, I think it's just it's an excellent system. Now, one thing that I do have to say, and I know I'm in the pros section, but you have to be careful with with what you're shooting. I have shot aluminum in this, and it doesn't care for aluminum case ammo as much as brass. It definitely likes brass a lot more. Just something to consider. I think with the system, it doesn't like the aluminum case for whatever reason. And then on to onto my final point with the weapon here, the versatility of this firearm system as a whole. Now, what I mean by that is you can get this in multiple different calibers. They make it in 9mm, 40, and 45, which is cool. Because you can kind of match it to whatever you shoot the most. So I have a 45 pistol that I really, really like, but I kind of thought, you know what, I'd like to switch to 9mm just to save some money on the ammunition. But really, if I wanted to, or in the future, I'm going to buy a Glock 19X, which will use the same mags and use the same round, so I could run a Glock and this at the same time, and they would both use the same magazines and the same rounds. And you could do this, all throughout the Glock spectrum as far as the size of the round and then the magazines that it uses. So it has good compatibility as well with the Glock pistol systems, if that was something that you were interested in. So overall, I think it is a very cool weapon system. I really like it. Again, now that I've owned it for a couple years, would I spend $1,800 on it? I don't know. I think the excitement weighs heavily into it. When I first got it, I was very excited, and if it was $2,500, I think I still would have bought it. Now that I've owned it for a couple years, I think the $1,800 price point is just a little bit high for them. But overall, I think they're a fantastic weapon system. I love mine. I don't want to get rid of it, and I enjoy it every time I shoot it. And like I said, every time I do bring it out and I shoot it, everybody's wondering what it is. They want to know more about it, and they ask to shoot it themselves. So if you guys have any questions about the system, drop them down below. I'll try to answer everything that I can. If you guys have one yourself, or if you're interested in the weapon system, go ahead and drop down a comment below, or drop down what you would own over this. But anyway, I'm just interested in seeing what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.